Hello everyone, this is Yvonne Davis and this is my channel. I'm an astrologer and I do videos on manifestation, astrology, and politics. So if you're new to my channel, please subscribe, and if you like this video, please feel free to leave comments and like the video. I always appreciate that. Okay, so I'm kind of on a roll now, and really, I think feeling a lot of excitement about what's on the way and what I see coming out astrologically and in the cards. So I want to share that with you. Okay, so I just did a video for the March 20th full moon in Aries and Libra, and I looked at how that was going to impact Donald Trump's chart, and then I got a question, and I'm paraphrasing, so I hope I'm getting this right. But the question basically, as I read it, was, why is Mueller being so silent? So we know that the report has been basically let loose, given to the person. This is like the structure of our government, the way this works, that the special report had to go to the Attorney General, and that person gets to read it first and then make assessments on what to do next. And so it's in the process of happening. And of course, this is the weekend, so we're not going to see anything happen today. But the full moon happens on Wednesday, so I think something's going to be revealed. And not only that, but Congress is actually taking steps to make the report public, or at least parts of the report public. So I definitely think we're going to see something happening soon. So anyway, I wanted to do a reading specifically on Mueller. So first of all, I'm going to pull up the chart, and I've got Donald Trump on it right now because there's something interesting that I saw in Mueller's chart, but I wanted to show you this in Trump's chart first. Okay, so this is a full moon. We've got the sun in Aries in Trump's ninth house. The ninth house rules legal affairs, and it's conjoining Chiron, which Chiron is an interesting asteroid because it's called the wounded healer, and what it represents, it's very karmic. It has to do specifically with healing, with both woundedness in our lives and also the healing of that woundedness. And this is our personal choice. This is not, karma is a little bit different. It comes in different forms. So some of our karma is based on fate, like the vertex. The vertex tells us things that are fated. These are things that happen external to us that bring about our transformation and our karma. And Pluto is another one of those planets. Pluto, Saturn, the vertex, these are all things that we can see manifest externally. Also, I would say that about Uranus. A lot of times Uranus happens external to us, such that things happen not necessarily because of anything that we're thinking or feeling, but because if we have karma that needs to be dealt with, these planets will bring into our lives some external event that is fated that forces us to deal with our karma. So depending on where we are in our own personal evolution, if we have a lot of karma to deal with, then these situations can be very painful. But if we're more evolved, then it's like almost nothing, barely even noticed, or it feels like, an irritation, like a mosquito bite. You hardly notice it. So it depends a lot on where you are in terms of your karmic evolution. So the wounded healer is interesting because we all have wounding. There's not a single person on this planet who doesn't get wounded at some point. So we all have wounding. The question is, do we continue to repeat patterns that continue to re-wound us and re-wound us and re-wound us? Or do we learn, because this is tied to our karma, our woundedness is tied to our karma. So do we learn and stop repeating the patterns that continue to re-wound us? Or do we move toward healing? So when we heal ourselves, we heal our karma. They go hand in hand. So what I see about Donald Trump is I see a lack of openness, as kind of spiritual or opening of consciousness. I see a lack of that in Donald Trump. It seems like he does the opposite. Like he just digs in deeper and deeper and deeper. And it's very sad to watch, actually. So, although this could bring about an opportunity for healing for himself and for the country, I don't think he will. I think he will continue to repeat his patterns and continue to wound himself and continue to dig in deeper with his karma. It's like, I don't think anything short of death or being thrown in jail will, even being thrown in jail. I mean, there are some people who to their dying days would not change, even if they spent the rest of their lives in jail. So who knows? It's very sad, very sad. And but the thing I wanted you to see here in particular was the fact that the full moon is right over his Neptune. And as I said, full moons bring illumination. I mean, it's both a physical illumination and a spiritual illumination. So a lot of times we will have an illumination in our consciousness, or secrets will be revealed, like information that wasn't available before will be revealed. So what I said was that this relates to his lifetime of lies, and there will be some revelation that is coming, some illumination that is coming because of this full moon. So now I want to show you what that looks like on two other charts. And so let me bring that up real quick. The first chart that I want to look at is for, I guess I'll look at, well, no, I'll look at the United States first, because then we can spend more time on Muller's chart. So let me get over here to, I like to use the U.S. constitutional signing chart. And so the reason why I wanted to look at this is, even though it doesn't look like a lot is happening, wait a second, I got those backwards. I gotta flip those around. Okay, so it doesn't look like a whole lot is happening, but the reason why I wanted to show this to you is because I also mentioned in my, well, actually there is something here. Venus is moving into conjunction with Saturn. So Saturn is an authority figure, and so Saturn is the ruler of Capricorn, and Capricorn is the ruler of government. So the fact that Venus is moving into conjunction with Saturn tells us, and as I've worked with these charts over the past year or so, and I've really tried to hone in on what does Venus represent. Now, Venus is the female energy, so in some sense it always represents the feminine, and that can manifest in different ways. It can manifest in obvious ways, like women, and we've actually seen a lot of powerful women coming to the fore, both in Congress and as potential candidates for the next presidential election. So that can manifest as in a very literal sense as women. But I also think that Venus rules Libra, and Libra is the scales of justice. And more I'm beginning to think that that is one of the ways, if not the probably, and also understand that these planets and their energies can manifest in multiple ways. But that's probably the number one way that is actually manifesting, is it's manifesting as the scales of justice. So with this Venus conjoining Saturn, which is all about authority, and you know, this is the chart of the United States constitutional signing. So it is the power and authority of our government, and this is the scales of justice, and it's women. That's the way it's manifesting. So it's very interesting. In terms of Robert Mueller, because I did see Venus coming up a lot in relationship to both Mueller and Trump, and that's why I eventually, because he's obviously not a female, he's a man, and so he would represent the masculine energy. So I wondered why did I keep seeing Venus coming up in relation to Mueller and Trump. And I realized finally, I mean, I had this intuitive insight, but finally, after seeing it numerous times, it really locked in that that Venus in this situation is representing the scales of justice. Okay, so that's one of the most important things that we're seeing taking place here. But I also wanted to say something about the movement of the planets over the course of the month. So starting out on March 20th, we have this full moon. The moon is here and the sun is here, conjunct Chiron, which, as I said, can represent both healing and rewounding. It depends on our patterns and how we relate to our patterns of wounding and how we relate to our karma. It's a personal choice. And so we have that as a nation as well as individuals. And what's going to happen is after the March 20th full moon, which will bring about this illumination of information, I'm going to show you that in Mueller's chart as well, then we as individuals and as a nation have a choice if we're going to move toward healing or if we're going to continue to repeat old patterns that continually wound us over and over and over again. And this is an opportunity because we're seeing a lot of interesting themes repeating themselves that we've seen before, even in our own lifetimes. So after this full moon, the next thing we'll get is a new moon in Aries, which will be at 15 degrees. So that's down here in the third house of the constitutional signing, which is opposite Neptune. So you notice Neptune keeps coming up over and over and over again because this is about the difference between truth and lies. And so the two players that we will see over and over again will be Jupiter, because Jupiter is about seeking truth, and Neptune. Neptune is also about seeking truth, but Neptune, because it has such a strong shadow side, often represents delusion. You have to move through delusion, lies, deceit, all the things that try to keep us from seeking true spirituality. Those things, they're the veil that hide us, that hide the truth. So those are all the lies, deception, delusion, the things we need to break free from in order to find the truth. And so actually Neptune represents both, because we have to move through that process of first being lied to and being deluded, and then ultimately finding the truth when we allow those lies and deceit and delusion to fall away. Then we find the truth. So it's also a symbol of idealism. So both Jupiter and Neptune ultimately represent that idealism of truth and justice. Okay, so then the third thing it will do is we'll move into this position 20. The sun will be in 29 degrees, and this is a month from March 20th. So that'll be around April 19th or 20th. The sun will be here in this position of 29 degrees Aries, and the moon will be up here in 29 degrees of Libra. And what's interesting about that is it will be squaring the Uranus in our chart. And whenever I've shown you what's happening on the U.S. constitutional signing chart, this Uranus keeps getting activated. So over the course of this month, that is ultimately what will happen, is that when the full moon lines up here at 29 degrees, it will square Uranus. And Uranus is all about shocks, surprises, lightning bolts, revolution, everything getting turned upside down. So that's going to be a really, really powerful thing that we're going to see happen over the course of the month, that I think is going to start with this full moon, March 20th. And full moons have a bell curve, so they can start as early as 5 days ahead and last as late as 5 days after. But it's a growing, increasing power and illumination that peaks when it's full, when it's exact, and then it wanes. And that can, so over time we'll see less and less until we get 5 days out. And then the power of the full moon has pretty much expressed itself. That doesn't mean the story's over. It's just that the intensity of it has waned. But this is because of the fact that it's moving across these signs here. It's basically, the story is unfolding over the course of a month. And then I mentioned in my last video also that it will actually go out 3 months. And but it's an unfolding story. I'm just letting you know that really powerful stuff is starting to happen with this full moon on March 20th. And then what we see even a month out will still be incredibly shocking and surprising, something we may not have even expected. So that's going to blow our minds. So wait for that, okay? And by the way, when the sun is here at 29 degrees, it will be conjoining Uranus, so that we've got a double dose here. Okay, so that's going to be really shocking. So hold on to your hats, okay? All righty, now let me pull up the next chart, which is Muller's chart. And I wanted you to see Trump's chart because I showed you how the full moon is coming into conjunction with his Neptune. And what's interesting is because they're close enough in age, they both have Neptune in Libra. So it's impacting Robert Mueller's Neptune as well. So that's really interesting. So here's what we have. Now, the only problem with Robert Mueller's chart is that nobody knows officially what his birth time is. And so whenever you see astrologer talking about Robert Mueller's chart, they are making guesses. Some may have done some rectification. I tried to do some rectification myself. And really what it came down to were there were two unknowns. One was where his moon is, because based on the time of day he was born, he would either have his moon in Pisces or his moon in Aries. And, you know, yes, there's a different flavor. I mean, he is a very private person. He likes working behind the scenes. So it is possible he has his moon in Pisces. Pisces is also very intuitive. Aries, on the other hand, is a martial sign because it's ruled by Mars. And he did serve in the military. And he has that kind of very militant way about him, the way he moves through life, the way he takes action. He doesn't necessarily like to be in the public eye. So that's very Piscean. But the way he moves, the way he takes action, he's very, very precise. And that gives me a flavor of Aries. It's very militant the way he does things. But he also has a very strong Virgo with his Mercury in Virgo. So that, just to let you know, that's down here, Mercury in Virgo. And so all these signs are Virgo. He has 4 things in Virgo. So Virgo can be very much like that too, very much about precision and working behind the scenes. So I admit I don't know exactly where his moon is, but when I did his chart before, my intuition told me that it was in Aries. So that's where I went ahead and placed it. And that put his ascendant in Scorpio. But when I did his chart this time, I decided to put the sun on the ascendant. That way we might get a little bit more accuracy. So anyway, what's interesting here was that when I looked at this chart, this full moon on March 20th, and laid it against his natal chart, that put this full moon right over his own moon. And so this is very interesting because this is actually very personal for him. The sun conjunct Chiron over his moon, this is incredibly personal to him. So understand that he's feeling a lot. He may not be very vocal out there in the public sphere, but believe me, he's experienced a tremendous amount of emotion around what he's had to go through over this year and a half or 2 years. How it hasn't quite been 2 years, but it's definitely been more than a year. It's been very difficult, emotionally, very challenging, and so I think for him that he didn't want to make this political, because that's not his job. His job was to be an attorney, and be the best attorney he could possibly be, and to keep his own emotions and his own personal opinions to himself, so as not to make it personal and not to make it political, but to do his job. But that doesn't mean it's been easy. Emotionally, it's not been easy. And so for him, this will hopefully bring some healing for him, when this thing starts to be, when the report starts to be revealed to the public, which I think we are going to start seeing in the next month because of the alignments. That's what it's saying to me. So, so down here also, although it's hard to see because it's not exactly lining up, but but the full moon is at 0 degrees Libra, 9 minutes, and his Neptune is at 2 degrees, 17 minutes. So he's definitely getting a conjunction to his Neptune as well. And again, this is about the illumination of things that are hidden, of secrets and lies and deception. And so for him, I think he's more on the light side rather than the shadow side, because I think Trump has really been in the shadow side of Neptune, which is that he chooses to mislead people. He chooses to tell lies and deceive people. And he's, I think, actually even deluded in his own mind. It's not just that he doesn't just know he's lying to people. He actually believes his own lies. Whereas I think Robert Mueller is more in the light side of Neptune, which is about, the illumination of spirit and truth and idealism. He's incredibly idealistic. So let me just tell you that regardless of what he is choosing to do in public, which is to stay behind the scenes, to not make it personal, to not make it political, but to just do his job, that does not mean that this has not been tremendously emotional and difficult for him, because he is incredibly idealistic. So I think what we're all hoping for is that not only will this bring some healing to us as a nation, but hopefully to him also as an individual, but that the idealism that he's held in his mind the entire time will also be illuminated, so that he will get to feel healing from the revelations of this document, as much as we hope to have a healing and illumination from this document. So that I thought was the most important thing to talk about. But also notice that he's coming upon a North Node conjunction. And this is an important time in any person's life. A North Node conjunction is, it's like a birthday that you only have once every 18 and a half to 19 years. So it's incredibly powerful in a person's life. It can actually change the direction of your life. So I think the fact that this is happening at the same time that this is one of, other than when he first became the director of the FBI, this is one of the most important times in his entire life. The fact that he was placed in the position of special counsel, and that he had to do this investigation and write these indictments and write this report. This has been one of the most important events of his entire life. And it could be life-changing for him as well. So those, I think, are the most important things to point out. And then I did, I used the Oracle cards to get a little more illumination about that question. So I'm going to show you those cards now. Okay, so I called on the spirit of the Oracle and I asked that question: why has Mueller been so silent all this time? Why is he still being silent even now? And this is the first card that came up. Try to get the light off of that so you can see it a little more clearly. And what that says to me, and my intuition, is that this is Mueller, the individual. He's doing his job. This is a higher power. And I think that he believes in that higher power. He's trying, I think he has tried really, really hard not to make this personal, like the way Donald Trump is. Every chance Donald Trump gets, he goes out there and says, no collusion, it's a witch hunt, which is very much based in his ego. He doesn't care about what's right for this country. He has not one tiny cell in his body cares about what he has done to this country. And he only cares about himself. So every chance he gets, he's trying to put that message out there to try to protect himself. And that's very ego-based. Whereas Mueller has tried not to be ego-based, not to see it as something personal to him or about his own personal opinions or his own personal agenda, his own personal politics, but to remove that completely and to give himself up to a higher power. And that higher power is truth and justice. And so that's what he believes in, and that's why he has made these choices to remain in the background and to keep silent and to let the investigation speak for itself. And so we just need to continue to be a little bit more patient, but I really do believe that this March 20 full moon is going to bring some illumination. So that's very close now. So, if we can just be a little bit more patient, I think we're going to see something. And the full revelation is going to take a little bit longer. I think over the course of the month, we will see even more revealed. And then over the course of 3 months, even more. Beyond that, I don't know how much more would be revealed from that particular document, but it may be a catalyst to more investigations, just like the Cohen, his hearings, they were a catalyst for more investigations. So I think the report, as more and more of what's in that report is revealed to the public and to Congress, that will initiate even more investigations. So I think we're very close now. So we just need a little bit more patience. And then the second card, I didn't actually pull the second card. It pulled itself. So I always trust that. And this was the card, which I also thought was very interesting, because what this tells me is that he's holding a lot of people in his mind. If this is Mueller, he's holding a lot of people in his mind. And so, again, that goes back to the idea that there's something, for him, there's something more important than his petty ego. He doesn't want to be the star of the show. He wants the truth and justice to be the star of the show, and to let the investigation do the job, to speak the truth, and rather than to have him come out as an individual and bring the attention to himself. So when I saw that, I thought about, like, it's almost like playing chess. When you're playing chess, you move a piece, but you don't tell anyone what else is going on in your mind. You may be holding so many more pieces. Let me see how many people are up here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Not all of them are clearly formed, but there's a lot going on there. So he's thinking, like in a chess game, he's thinking at least 8 moves ahead, if not farther. Although they're more vague when you get farther out. And so, I actually really trust him. I felt the same frustration because every time Donald Trump gets out into the public and tells a lie, I wish we had someone else to counterbalance that. And, so that's, I think, why we've all felt some frustration about his silence. why doesn't he come forth and tell us something? But I think that's because he is thinking at least 8 moves ahead, like a chess player. And I think, believes that the end game is what matters. Not what happens today, not what happens tomorrow, but what happens when this is all said and done. What happens years from now, like Nixon, he's gone. But the way he will be recorded in history will not be for anything he may have done good for this country, but the fact that he committed crimes and there was a cover-up and he was impeached, or nearly impeached, and he resigned. That's what people will remember throughout history, which is a sad legacy to leave, you know. But that's the end game that Mueller is playing. Is when we're all gone, what will be left? Will truth and justice be left? That's what matters. And I think that's the game he's ultimately playing. So he's looking far, far ahead and doing what he believes are the best actions to take for that end game. Alrighty, so I hope that was helpful. I really think the most important takeaway is that I think truth and justice will ultimately succeed, and that we're actually getting very, very close now to seeing the kinds of revelations that we've been waiting for, the ones that will actually make a difference. So, like I said, just hold on to your hats. It's going to be a wild ride. So, and I will come and make more videos as we move forward in time. Alrighty, so I hope you enjoyed that and that was helpful. And any more questions or comments you have, I love to hear them. And if any of you are interested in a personal reading, I always put my link below. And as always, if you're new to my channel, I hope you'll subscribe and hope you will share this video and click like so we can build a community here. So I appreciate all of you and thank you. I will see you soon.